Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Balcony Banter. It's Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month, and I'm so glad to see you all here on the balcony. With us is Tim and Christine, and a lot of people we have in the chat. And I'm gonna go through the chat to say welcome, everybody. And the very, very first one we had tonight was Jeff Daniels. He was like 10 minutes beforehand already, or 10 or 15 minutes before. So he was the first one waiting already. And who else do we have? We have Ian. Hi, Ian. Welcome. And it's Craig and Sarah Childs. Welcome, everyone. It's so good to see you. Thanks for making it over to my channel. Derek Walker and Julie Wade, and we got Charlie, and we got Heather McCarthy. Welcome, Heather. And Ray Duffy. Hi, Ray. And Christian. Goedenavond, Nederland. Christian Maus. And we got Marie Alti and Denise Pearson and David Longden. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for making it over to my channel. And we got a surprise for you tonight because he's not going to be in the chat. So somebody who is usually very active in the chat is live tonight here with us. So you might already wonder who's sitting there. I'm going to put us all three on the screen. So this is the man who always puts those insightful questions I wanted to introduce to you, Luke Otter. So hi, Luke. Thanks for making time for us tonight.
Wow, even a round of applause. Wow. Yeah, thanks everyone. And yeah, the mysterious man of questions is now actually on the show. So I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, I'm glad you made it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
How are you all? How are you, Christine and Tim?
We're fine.
Yeah?
What have you been?
Yeah, the big shopping trip today.
Ooh.
We went down to Siam Mall first.
Siam Mall?
What did we get there?
We got 2 dresses for me.
Ooh.
Because I must decide which one I want for Stephanie's 30th birthday party. And we're gonna have a show tomorrow.
We're having a fashion show tomorrow, so.
A fashion show, and you're gonna show some legs.
Shopping trip.
You're gonna show some legs.
We'll show some legs, yeah.
Great.
And then we had a look at the new Lidl.
At the new Lidl, how did you like that one?
I liked it, yeah.
It wasn't as cramped as it was before.
Yeah, yeah. They're all going to Aldi.
Yeah. No, but I think the aisles are a bit slightly different as well, and there's more things at eye height. Yeah. So that's good for you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
She still wouldn't let me buy the bottle of schnapps, though.
No.
Bottle of schnapps.
No schnapps for you.
But she got two tafel's of chocolate naranja.
Oh, okay. So now you're happy.
Yeah.
All dressed and fed. What more do you want, right?
What more do you want? Yeah. Cheers.
Tim.
Someone is saying in the chat, by the way, Tim and Christine, your audio is quite static.
Yeah,
I'm hearing it too.
You're hearing it badly as well, yeah?
Yeah, so that's why I'm gonna, meanwhile you are fixing the audio, I'm gonna go over to Luke and ask him, where are you right now? Would you want to give that away?
Sure, I definitely can. Well, maybe I'll just give you a quick summary of my story, because actually it's eerily similar to Tim's story, insofar as I was born on the outskirts of Manchester in a town called Hyde. And but I left there when I was very young, and for most of my life I lived in Singapore in Southeast Asia. So I lived there for over 20 years, but now I live in the south of Italy in a town called Matera. But right now I'm back in miserable Manchester to visit my mother. So that's where I am for the next week or so. Apologies to anyone who's from Manchester.
So why miserable? Is it raining?
Well, that is the trademark of Manchester, is it not? That it is always raining and miserable.
Oh, mighty Manchester. We love the people from Manchester. I don't know
Yes.
who in the chat is from Manchester. If Linda is watching us later on, maybe on catch up, she is from Manchester and she's a good one and she loves it.
Charlie is saying he's from Oldham, which is not too far from Manchester. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. I'm still not so too familiar with the English map, but yes, I know where Manchester is. All right, so Luke, why or since when have you been watching Balcony Banter, or how did you get into Balcony Banter? Because that's quite a ride actually to join us. I mean, in Singapore, Italy, and then Tenerife, those people from Tenerife on the balcony every Wednesday. Tell us, how did you find us?
Well, I've been watching for about 6 months, and to answer your question, I'm actually not sure how I found the channel, how I found Tim's channel. I mean, I'm assuming it appeared on my suggestions on YouTube, but how the YouTube algorithm decided to show me as a suggestion, I'm not sure. Maybe perhaps because I'm a subscriber of Darren John, his channel, so it could have been correlated to that somehow. But yeah, it's been about 6 months that I've been watching.
Yeah, and putting really good questions in the chat every time.
Well, I try.
Absolutely, and even for tonight, you have you and I, we have been in contact email wise. So we were looking for a topic, and you came up with a great one. We decided on that one. So circle of compassion. What made you choose that topic?
I find it interesting. Firstly, I find it very interesting. Maybe I can explain what it is for anybody in the chat who is wondering what circles of compassion are exactly.
Yeah.
So, quick summary of what it is. I think for everybody in their lives, we draw these arbitrary, invisible circles. And within this circle, there are people, places, things that we are compassionate towards. So it could be family members, spouse, pets, even some kind of a national identity can be inside as well. And outside of this circle, I guess we can just broadly categorize it as the other. And our feelings towards what is outside the circle is usually at best indifferent, at worst probably disliking or whatever it is. And now what interests me about this topic is that usually what is inside the circle and what is outside the circle is exactly the same thing. There's actually no difference between what is inside and what is outside. So just to give an example that would help illustrate it, we may have a pet dog, and obviously this dog would be inside the circle. We care for the dog, we love the dog, we feed the dog, shelter the dog, shower it with affection. But outside the circle, we could go to a supermarket and buy meat, for example, which has come from an animal that is exactly the same as the dog that we are petting every single night. Because when you think about it, a pig and a dog, what is the difference? They're both sentient beings with a similar level of intelligence and emotional quotient. So what is the difference between the two? There's actually no difference. It's just that we decide that one is inside the circle of compassion and one is outside. And just give one more example, and then I'll hand it over for discussion. A recent one, actually, I saw. There's this huge outcry about the war in Ukraine, and rightfully so. I mean, it's a terrible thing. You can see everywhere people putting the flags of Ukraine on their display photo on Facebook, and flags outside embassies, and there's just a very strong emotional reaction to that war. I saw no such reaction to the war in Yemen, for example, which killed 20 times the amount of people that it has in Ukraine. So why is that so? I mean, one of the reasons could be Ukraine, Europe, Caucasian people. Judeo-Christian faith, whereas people in Yemen are Arabic, Muslim, non-European. So we kind of make this separation where one is inside the circle and one is outside the circle. So those are just two examples to illustrate the point.
Yeah, great ones, great ones. Tim, have you got anything to say?
I would just want to check to see whether we're still crackling. Crackling Rosie, get on board.
Exactly, Crackling Rosie. Would you say what I would like to put in compassion? Would you say that there is a difference between compassion and sympathy and empathy?
I think they can be part of a package of emotions. So often they can go together. I mean, for example, if you can't empathize with something, you can't be compassionate towards it in many cases, and vice versa. I think it depends on the subject matter as well.
If it is somebody the difference between empathy and compassion is actually, sympathetic pity is compassion. So you're sympathetic to somebody else's bad fortune, or someone else's, or something else's bad fortune, and you feel for them even though it's not happening to you. Sympathy can be that it's happening to both of you and you both feel the same. I think that there has to be a hierarchy in compassion. The person giving the compassion has a different hierarchical view of the thing that's happening. Like, it may not be actually happening to them, but they feel the same as if it were. So I think when you're talking about compassion, there has to be some sort of hierarchy going on. I don't want to say a better being for a lesser being, because who knows? But in that situation, the person who's in the situation that needs the pity, they are getting the compassion for the person who is not in the situation that needs the pity.
Yeah, I think you are making a good point there with feeling compassion. And I think
the word compassion comes from that, because first of all, the feeling's there, and they give that word compassion, otherwise it'd be sympathy.
Yeah.
That's why they have the two words for it, I think.
Sympathy is just maybe understanding a situation, or understanding how the other person's problem is. And then you have maybe you were talking about hierarchy. The next step would be empathy. You can feel for that individual, what that individual is going through. There's always the comparison saying empathy is putting yourself in being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes. So then the next step would be sympathy, and would be compassion. And compassion is then you are feeling the suffering, but to an extent that you are sort of like put into action. You actually want to help, which in a lot of ways you can think, which is a good thing, obviously, but also it puts somebody in a disempowering position at some point. And some people might even misuse people's compassion. So and if for instance you are seeking compassion from others, you are not actively looking to maybe find a solution. So those three are what you were saying, Tim, the hierarchy of compassion, I would say. And we can all like work towards that, to have some sort of a commitment towards one of those three, whatever extent you want to give it to.
I think compassion, the word compassion actually comes from the Latin to suffer, compi.
Yeah, compassionare, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think
haven't
there
worked
is
yet.
a Latin root to it, and I think it's to do with suffering. So
Yeah,
compassion is feeling other people's suffering.
yeah. Marie Alti made a comment here. Ukraine was lovely country. It had some lovely landmarks. Just mess what's happened. Feel for Ukraine, and it's tight on them. Yeah,
I do have an answer to the question of why do we put the Ukraine flag up and not the Yemen flag, and it's all to do with information. And I don't think it's to do with a physical love or hate for one or the other. I think it's to do with how important the information is. So, I mean, there are lots of us, like yourself, Luke, that think of things like that, and we did not probably put just the Ukrainian flag. And everybody who knows me knows my politics, but it's if you say war is bad for everybody and there's good and bad on both sides, you tend to look like a wishy-washy flip-flopper. But in fact, I abhor all war. And war is the crime. There's no such thing as a war crime. War is the crime. So we are probably intelligent enough to do that. So the reason that people have compassion for one thing or another is that they're informed about it. I think there are quite a few people in the world that don't even know how many wars are actively going on, and what's worse, what their country's involvement is. So I think it is totally to do with information. And once you have the information, sometimes you're fed the information in a way which makes you think about the information in a certain way. And the main word for that is called propaganda. So depending also on your propaganda machine that you subscribe to, because everybody subscribes to a propaganda machine. And I think that's the point there. So what you feel is how you're told to feel. Unless you're a person that gets his information from multiple sources, and then you can usually find out a middle ground and sort of make your own mind up. I'm not saying that those people are better, but they're better informed.
Yeah, Tim. It's good what you're saying there. It's always helpful to remember that we can shift our perception, and that puts us in the position to actually read other information or consume also maybe the contrary, to get a broader picture. And I would like to put in, as a question for everybody and in the chat. I would love to see you engage as well in the chat. Is like, how could we actually broaden our circles of compassion? How is that? How is that as an individual actually? Possible, because it is possible.
Look, or is that a goal?
Look how this is working.
But is that a goal?
Who would have thought 2 years ago that that I broadened my circle of compassion to such an extent that we are live on YouTube and reaching out to the world. I mean, and now even having Luke here with us sitting today. So
maybe I've missed the point then, because I'm looking at the circles of compassion of the things I care about and the things I don't care about, right? And so if you broaden the things you care about, you can't do anything for anybody. But if you focus on the things that you are able to control or help, then concentrating your circle of compassion to those specific things where you can actively help immediately is probably better than being worried about everything and doing nothing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's even humanly possible to widen one's circle of compassion to be compassionate towards everything. And I don't even think that's desirable, because if we were to do that, we would have compassion exhaustion, I think. In fact, I'm seeing this with Ukraine right now. People are exhausted in terms of the news about Ukraine. They don't want to hear about it anymore. Or going back to the example I was talking about earlier with where their meat comes from. People don't want to watch these videos because they do feel compassionate, and it gets to a certain point where they're just tired. They've given all the compassion that they can give. But to go back to your question, Juliane, I think there's no harm in broadening the circle and also realizing the contradictions, because we were talking about the differences between compassion, empathy, sympathy, etc. But I think what's really interesting is we could have all those emotions yet still exhibit a behavior in real life that is in complete contradiction to those emotions that we are feeling. I mean, I can say, I hate the war in Ukraine, it's so bad, it's so terrible, but then I do something to fund the Russian government into strengthening their army to invade Ukraine. So there's a clear contradiction from what I'm saying, what I'm emotionally against, and my actual real life behavior. So I think that's one thing people can correct. If you feel indignation emotionally about something, but you are behaving in a different way in your real life, it's very common that we do this because it's just a subconscious behavior. But that is one way, I think, to see some of the contradictions and hypocrisies.
Yeah, I really like that the point you're making there with emotion and subconsciousness, because the subconscious is really our emotional mind, and this is where we are pretty much driven by feelings, and those feelings put us in action. And the thing is, of course, if we see so much suffering going on, which we choose to tune into, of course, that over time will even on the ones with the best intention cause some kind of feeling, some kind of maybe even nasty feeling, maybe even sadness, and it does not really usually put you in the right kind of action. So you were making a very good point, and I hope I understood you correctly. Like the fostering empathy then more, which is a little bit less on the feeling side, is putting a little a little mental hat on your head. So you are putting a guard, so to say, on your emotions, so that you are then maybe still in the position to act in a helpful way, because your intention is there to help. When you're showing empathy, then it's already a very good sign that you want to do something about it. Yeah, but you're not consumed.
But we're in a very privileged position.
Yes.
We are in a very privileged position, and I mean we as a human race at the moment, because if you look at the history of the human race, empathy and compassion was something that you had within your society. So your society was sort of limited to your realm of information gathering, which typically was your village or at least your set of villages. And when somebody suffered within your village, you were pretty near to them, and you could feel their suffering. So compassion could be something that helped there. But now you can be compassionate against somebody that you've never met, you never will meet, or something you've never been affected by and never will be affected by.
Yeah.
And this, as Luke was saying, this sort of outrage that we have, and faux outrage at certain things, like I don't want to get into politics again, but yeah. So if there is a faux outrage at how dare you, yeah, then what happens then is nationalism and religion steps in, and they put the borders and the rules in place to make your compassion and your emotions be channeled in a direction. And so it's very easy when you get a world full of people who are I don't want to coin a phrase here, but blind, compassionate people. They're looking for something to suffer and worry about. Yeah. Then religion and nationalism comes in and sort of like takes up the mantle and says, "I'll take care of you." And that's probably why Ukraine is being targeted by the Western press and the Yemen isn't. So as for the pigs and the dogs, again, you've lived in. We used to call Singapore Asia for Anfänger, Asia for beginners, because you had all the flavors of Asia and none of the problems. And but you can go there and you can basically eat anything that has its back to the sky. So it just depends where you're from, where you're brought up, and what you think about things. And we're all sentient beings, even grass. We just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
I have to say that there's another form of what I would say cancerous compassion that I'm noticing that has been formed recently, which is kind of like a public...
I prefer that, cancerous compassion. I like that. Did you coin that phrase?
I just made it up, yeah. The one I've noticed
is.
recently, which I find intriguing, is this kind of a public display of so-called compassion, which is people are using compassion actually as a strategy to bestow virtue upon themselves, almost kind of like moral grandstanding. So, for example, there could be somebody crying at the top of a roof saying, "Oh, the war in Ukraine is so bad, it's terrible, it's terrible." But behind closed doors, actually, they don't really care. They've done nothing. They've done nothing practically to actually help the war in Ukraine. But they feel that there's some kind of a virtue in public. I mean, we're seeing this actually. I don't want to name the kind of movements that's going on, political movements, but there are all these kind of movements that are going on with compassion actually as their driving force. But now it's kind of like become a, just a way of getting virtue, self-virtue.
Yeah.
But as I said, it's nationalists and religious people have used that as a tool for centuries.
Tim, I'm curious to ask you then. So, what you mentioned earlier, you have like a hierarchy, right, of compassion.
So how does that go? The hierarchy exactly? of the victims, if you like. I wasn't talking about the hierarchy of the compassionate. I was saying that typically somebody who is suffering, the compassion is given to somebody who is suffering. Therefore, the person giving the compassion is not affected by that. So that was the hierarchy I was alluding to. Not that there was different hierarchies of that, but there probably is. I just didn't mean that. In case you're trying to give me credit for something that I didn't think.
No. But how do you feel about balancing, or the term balance in talking about compassion? Is there?
I've learned very, very quickly that everything that goes on in the world is none of my business. And if I can immediately help somebody do something immediately, then I will do it. But that's not exactly true. That's not exactly true. There are certain things that I want to see eradicated in the world, and those things I can't actively do anything about. But I'm compassionate about the people who suffer from them. People who suffer from religion, war, and lack of abundance. So those are the three things that I think. The world is abundant. It is controlled by capitalists that use scarcity to drive prices. And I'm not saying capitalists like political capitalists. I'm talking about the way things work. So I am compassionate for those people that don't have access and real access to certain services that they should do. And but I think that the only thing you can do with that is to support a political party, unfortunately, and create a revolution. But I think we're in a flux. If we look at the history of man, and the fall of the Roman Empire took 1,000 years, then the fall of our empire, our capitalist empire, will also take 1,000 years. So it's not going to happen overnight. But I think that if you think the way you do and you inform the people how you think, and you discuss, obviously, and learn, then that's all you can do. Actually going out on a limb for a Ukrainian, a Yemeni, or a dog, or a pig is what you said, Luke. It's grandstanding. It's nothing more than grandstanding. Because you're not going to change the whole world. You're going to change maybe a circle, but eventually, to change the whole world, you have to start like that. But do it quietly. Do it quietly.
And you can always do something.
Yeah, stop eating pigs. You know, it's easy. Eventually, everybody will, and it'll be normal. You know, but don't worry about those who are still doing it. You know.
Oh, we got a few people here in the chat saying goodbye. Ian left us already, and Ray Duffy also had to go. Bye, everybody. And I would like to put something on screen. Let me see if I can find it actually. This one here, show. Is there any option? No. Okay. So yeah, we were talking about balance, and oftentimes we are driven, or we operate in drive mode, so that is motivating us to do something, or threat mode. We gotta get this done, or else it's gonna be all horrible. But I wanted to make this balance point again. So finding actually a balance between drive mode and threat mode is to hone a little bit more into the soothing system, which actually is the one that makes something like compassion or kindness possible. Because when we are only operating in drive mode or threat mode, then it's sheer impossible for us to see something like kindness or being more compassionate towards others. That's why I wanted to make that point of balance again. And I'm gonna take this off so we can see each other again. Here we are. What do you have to say about that, Luke? Balance.
I think balance is important, and I think there's in Buddhism we call it the middle path. So there's no extremes on either end. So like with what Tim was saying about the example about pigs and dogs and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, you can stop eating pigs if you want, but to go out on the streets with a gun or whatever and force people to stop eating them is not the right outcome either. So they're both extremes. So the middle path to me is the best way. Compassion toward everything, as I mentioned before, is impossible. There's just no way of humanly doing it. And I guess in some ways it is good to be selective rather than, I don't agree with the approach of being so indifferent as to say, well, there's nothing I can do about it. It's all out of my control. Even if you adopt a dog from the street, that doesn't solve the overall problem of stray dogs on the street, but it is a big change for the dog that you have saved, because that life.
Yeah, but the thing is, the stray dog on the street is the natural dog. I say the adopted dog is the poor dog because it's adopted by a human. And I believe that the stray dog and the packs of dogs roaming the streets are the natural dogs. They have the, I don't want to say pride, but they have they're naturally dogs. And so I would release all the dogs. I wouldn't
Who let
save
the
them.
dogs out, Tim?
Woof,
Tim.
Woof. I didn't lock them up. I can't let them out. I didn't lock them up. You locked them up. You got dogs.
Oh, yeah. No, but it's also it doesn't really matter whether from the street or or from wherever you get your pet from, the sheer fact is that
having
you
a
take
pet is foreign to me.
it's yeah that's
Having
that
having a pet is a first world problem. Living in
yeah
harmony with an animal is okay, but having
yeah.
a pet, like a little fat dog that sits on the sofa,
No, but what we were saying before, say if we were talking about saving an animal, it makes a difference already. Doing it for one, of course, you cannot maybe save all of them, but
saving a starving animal or
at
saving an
least
animal from being beaten, those are the two
at,
different things.
at least you have done something about it, and it makes the animal feel good and yourself as well, because
Probably true.
you are taking action, and you are stepping up for something you might value.
I think the indifference I was talking about was something that like I wouldn't be compassionate about a dog that was starving in South Africa, for instance. There's nothing I can do. I could maybe say, yeah, poor dog, but I couldn't be compassionate about that. But if I saw a dog on the street and his pack had released him or banished him or whatever, and he was like, then I'd throw him a sausage. Well, I can't actually, because then I would be dissing the pig. But you understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? I'd give him some. I'd give him some kale.
Yeah, kale. Okay,
No,
Heather says.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But
Heather
yeah,
says, my dog
yeah,
is part of our family, and
I
yes, he does
understand that.
sit on the sofa. Of course.
I
Of
understand that.
course. You love them. And
I've
that's
just lost. I've just lost a load of friends by saying that. Anyway,
yeah, but coming back to circles of compassion, I really did like that topic, Luke, and I'm glad you suggested that. And I something uh, after we decided on the topic happened last week, and I was actually thinking about how would I have reacted maybe 10 years ago, if that had happened to me. So we can always make that compassion or this empathy that we have for somebody bound to our feelings. And the story I was gonna share with you was that last week I helped somebody to get home safely. A man who was who was a little bit lost, and out there. I was on my on a morning walk, and that man came walking towards me, and he was walking on a stick, all by himself, and I could see that he was walking very difficultly and had trouble walking, and he was asking for the road. So I could sense that he was sort of lost a little bit. So he didn't really know where he was, and how to get out of that road. So I asked him a few questions, and we contacted his family, and I called the family, and I suggested to bring him home, drive him home. And I was wondering also while walking back to the car, would he have been in this compassionate circle if I hadn't had the same or similar feelings with my own father at some point in my life, where he had been in a situation where he got lost because he suffered from Alzheimer's disease, and he didn't didn't know where he was. So I could, in that very moment, I could really relate feeling and emotionally wise back to a situation I was very familiar with. And then out out of that feeling, I felt the urge to help that man. But I was I was wondering if that is also part of the circle of compassion. What would you say, Luke?
Well, I think a lot of times what we are compassionate about is bred from personal experience, right? So if we have gone through something ourselves, or a loved one that we know has gone through something like Alzheimer's, cancer, whatever it is, I think we're naturally more inclined moving forward to be particularly compassionate towards people who have also gone through that. For example, I've been to Ukraine many times, so trust me, I'm compassionate about the place. I've met many people. I have friends who are Ukrainians. So in that example, actually being there physically, knowing Ukrainians, visiting those beautiful churches and buildings that exist there, and then obviously to see them hit by the bombs and whatnot, it hurts a lot more rather than, oh yeah, there's just some random building in South Sudan that has been bombed. So yeah, I think our personal experiences definitely do shape compassion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's
Let
what
me
I was
ask you.
talking about, Yuliani. With you met the guy, so therefore you could immediately decide whether you wanted to help him or not. And so that's what I meant about outside of your sphere of influence
Yeah.
is going to be harder to ignore, if you like, than something that is right within your sphere of influence. Did you have to cross the road for the guy, or was he right in your path?
No, he was on my path.
So
But
could you think back? But think back, and if he hadn't been on your path and walking in the other direction,
he
would you have
was
felt this?
walking on towards the other direction.
No, what I
So
mean is, if he wasn't on were you actually going to meet him, or did you have to go out of your way to meet him?
no, we were crossing.
Right, and
Intersecting.
if you weren't intersecting, that means if he'd have gone past either too earlier or later, then you wouldn't have actually had the compassion to help him, because it wouldn't have been in your field of influence. That's what I'm saying. So it's going back to the very beginning. It's all to do with information, how much you know about the thing, and like what you just said, Lou, your experience and your memories and things that are happening today that we know nothing about, we cannot be compassionate about.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you know about, the more you can be
Exactly.
passionate about.
Yeah.
But then you have to decide where to focus your energy.
Yeah. So it's exactly being more interested, maybe also about certain topics, and if or less judgmental about something.
That's also true, because some people are actually suffering under certain circumstances at the moment that I think are not problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Such as
I
example?
think they've made their own problem. You know.
Yeah. Like what?
And
what's an example of that?
if I give an example, then you'll just take the example and argue against that. But the argument is, no, I'm serious. I'm serious. If you give an example, then people just take the example and don't take the lesson. So I'd rather just leave it as a lesson.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure you have something in your mind that you think what he thinks he's got a problem. He thinks he's suffering, or she thinks she's suffering. So yeah, so I don't give examples because people like examples to dismantle and don't learn.
We have had a great discussion. Honestly, I really did enjoy that topic. Is there anything, Luke, that you would like to put in for the audience? Anything you would want to wish for the following weeks?
Well, I mean, I definitely will be staying tuned to Balcony Banter to see all the future episodes. There's no doubt about that. As I was saying to you before, Juliane, I think this community that has been built around this show is great. It's fantastic. I think it's a really productive and kind community, which is rare. There's not even. I mean, maybe I'm cursing it by saying this, but there's not even that many trolls that are in the comments or
they've
disruptors.
given up. They've given up.
They've given up. Okay.
I love them too much, you know.
They're giving up.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Luke, for being part of that community.
My
For
pleasure.
making time to be live on the show, and anytime you're more than welcome to join in. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
absolutely.
Every other time it's on my channel, so there's a slightly different modus operandi of getting in, but you're allowed, if you go to timothydowd.com/live and press the button, then you come into the show immediately on any Wednesday. And then first Wednesday of the month, Giuliani sends out a special link if you ask for it. It's just the way that the different software works, really. I have a static link and the other one cannot be static.
I would like to put that comment on Ellie Bennett made. We all have our circles of compassion. Yes, I just like to believe they all overlap slightly to cover everything.
Wow.
Very good one. Thank you, Ellie.
So if everybody's compassionate about something, then everybody's covered.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that idea. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Ali Bennett, you're a gardener. I know you. You're a gardener, so you're cultivating us. Thank you very much.
Exactly. She's nurturing.
That's it. The nurture versus nature. Oh my God, that's the one for another time. Nurture versus nature.
Oh yes,
that's a good one.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Maybe Ian can join in with his gardening skills.
Exactly. We'll have a gardener's evening on.
Yes, absolutely. So
I've got one announcement before we go.
Please go ahead.
It's nothing to do with compassion. It might actually be with compassion. Could be with compassion. Okay. There's a guy called Zach Taylor, Z-A-C Taylor, and he's contacted me. He was 15 years a fitness trainer in London, and then he went out to do a couple of years in the Caribbean in a place, and he's looking now to come and live in Tenerife and work as a fitness trainer. And I know it's everybody's wish to come and start work here, but obviously Brexit has put the kibosh on certain things, like that type of role. But he's got a slightly different spin on it. He's looking for people, either singles or couples or families, that would give him a room and board, and he will take care of their fitness needs. So that means Christina and I could theoretically get him over for 3 months, and he would get me up at 6 in the morning, boot camp me, and get me into my lederhosen by Christmas.
Yes.
But we're not doing it.
Oh.
No, we haven't decided yet. I think that he's maybe looking for a villa or something with with a room that's far from the snoring couple. But and of course my family's coming over the end of this month, so they can't do it. But he did ask me to put it out there that if anybody's interested in bringing him over on a 1, 2, or 3 month contract to do a boot camp with the family, then he will take care of all the nourishment needs. I think it's the way he put it. So he will, I assume, cook and prepare all the meals and prepare the regimen, the exercise regimen. Then and you don't pay him, I don't think. I mean, I suppose it would be good to give him some spending money to go and enjoy himself. But if he's a fitness guy, he probably doesn't want to get down the pub. Yeah. So I just said I would mention it tonight, and I was thinking of inviting him on next week to tell his story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking
because
forward to
he's probably got
that,
a good story for that. So yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, you got to keep your heart alive, and most of all, keep the heart open, and find balance in compassion. And most of the time, compassion not only for others, but also for yourself. So, yeah.
Sympathetic pity myself. I think I'm pretty good at that.
No, taking action and taking responsibility. That's why
I'm no good at that.
is key.
I'm no good at that.
in everything. Oh, thank you so much. You've been all wonderful here in the chat. Thanks for coming over to my channel. And next week, yes, we're going to see you all again on the balcony as usual. And Luke, anytime you want to pop in, you can always say hello. And
Okay, I will do.
We'll be on the show again. Thank you ever so much. Thank you all. Bye.
Thanks everyone in the comments.
I can play it again one more time, but
oh, I forgot you